And I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power together with all the Lord's holy people to grasp how wide, long, high and deep is the love of Christ. Well, you might be wondering, what is the width, the length, the height and the depth of Christ's love, and how are we meant to grasp that if we don't know what it is? Well, I would argue to you that it's simply what Paul has already been describing in the first section, the first half of Ephesians. You see, we get to see the height of God's love for us through Ephesians chapter 1 in how Paul has been describing all the spiritual blessings that we have in Jesus Christ and how highly God has exalted the church in Jesus. We get to see the depth of God's love at the start of Ephesians chapter 2, where Paul describes that we are dead in our sin and transgression, but because of God's great love for us, his deep love, which is deeper than our sin, he has made us alive in Christ. We get to see the width of God's love for us in the second half of chapter 2, in that God has opened up his arms to receive the Gentiles of the world through Jesus Christ, and that you no longer have to just be a Jew to be saved, but that God's love is wide enough for all of humanity. And we get to see how long God's love for us in chapter 3, where Paul has been describing that the church is God's plan to express his wisdom and to receive glory for himself. And we also saw that in chapter 1, where the church is God's glorious and long-term inheritance. So really we see the width, the length, the height, the depth of God's love really just in this first half of Ephesians, in the truth of what God has done in and for the church.